Hi everyone, John Cottrell here of MBODY Yoga. This is soft flow yoga. It's a 60-minute gentle yoga practice, a perfect class for beginners. So in this class, I have called it seated floor work. So a lot of our postures we're going to be doing today will be seated on the floor, which shouldn't be too deceiving because we can still work our entire body, even upper body, even though we're going to be doing some floor work, which will have some focus on our legs. So for our props today, since we are doing a little bit of floor work and leg work, you're going to need a strap. That's going to be very helpful. So a yoga strap or a jump rope or just something that's long that you can use to help with some of your postures. We will be sitting, of course, on something soft, so you want to have a soft blanket or towel. You can even double up on your yoga mats. You might want to have a couple of yoga blocks, which I have here. I've got kind of the thinner ones, but you may have the more standard, thicker ones. If you don't have yoga blocks, just grab a couple of hardbound books, like some dictionaries. And then a big pillow. I've got my yoga bolster here. These are nice, firm, solid cushions that you can sit on, great for some postures to help support your body. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. So you can sit on your big pillow or even just use your folded blanket or towel and just come to a comfortable seated position. We like to begin here. We start seated, we are going to come to standing, doing some standing work, but we're going to come right back down to the ground. But let's start here. Start with a few deep breaths. A nice inhale to really fill up your lungs. And an exhale. You can breathe out through your mouth with a nice sigh. Do that again. Inhale, breathe in fully. Exhale completely. And then just settle into just some slow, steady breaths here. Just be mindful of your breath. Pay attention to your own breathing. This is our breathing meditation. It's a wonderful way just to get in tune with our bodies, to be more present, connected, and aware as we practice our yoga together. Now, as you're tuning in and moving inward, just turn up the volume of your breath. If you breathe a little louder, you can really focus on that resonance, that sound, that vibration. It'll help you to really stay focused on yourself and let go of the things that are going on outside of you. Good. As you are listening to the sound of your breath, also feel your breath. Notice how your body is responding to your breath. You might notice the rise and fall of your chest or even your belly as you inhale and exhale. Good. Keep this connection. And to deepen this connection, when you inhale, just feel that breath rising, once again filling up your lungs. A very expansive breath in. And then when you exhale, draw your navel inward towards your spine, just a light pull, just an awareness of your center. What you're doing here is connecting to and engaging the abdominal lock. It's a way of supporting your body. It's also a way of generating and retaining energy, good energy in your body. Again, inhale, feeling the breath rising. You might even feel the lengthening of your spine. And we want to keep that spinal extension as the lungs expand here. And with the exhale, drawing belly in, contracting the abdominal muscles, finding our center body. This too helping to support our seat. Now this is important because we will be doing a lot of seated postures. We want to see if we can maintain this lengthened spine. That lightness in our upper body, and we help do that with that core connection, the abdominal lock, or Uddiyana Bandha in Sanskrit. Good. Let's take 3 more breaths. Now let's add a very simple movement to this breathing effort. When you're ready, inhale and extend your arms out across the room, reaching out, then all the way up, reaching for the ceiling. So good effort there. Exhale, extend your arms out, and even imagine you're going to touch the walls on either side of you as you bring your arms back down. Let's do that again together. Inhale, extend your arms out. Good reaching effort all the way through your fingertips, then up towards the ceiling as if you're going to touch the ceiling. Exhale, good effort. Extend, reach, stretch. Arms come back down. Now go ahead and continue this movement on your own. Move on your own and breathe on your own. You don't have to necessarily follow me, just follow your own breath. You can even do this with your eyes closed if you'd like. Just pay attention to your breath, the feeling and the sound of your breath, but also notice what's happening in your body. Arms extending, feel that effort, reaching upward towards the ceiling. Notice your shoulders. As you reach your arms up also, feel the lengthening through the sides of your body. Nice stretch sensation. This is all important because some of the work that we'll be doing seated on the floor will involve the upper body. Some lengthening through the sides of the body. We're going to even involve a twist. So as we warm up, we'll even practice a gentle rotation. Go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more. Take your time. Moving at your own breath pace. And when you're complete, we'll just bring your arms back down by your side. Come back to stillness and notice that transition from being active to now passive. So movement to non-movement. Good. All right, let's practice a very gentle rotation. And in rotations, that does involve the spine, of course, and the sides of the body, and also our hips. And just as we were reaching our arms up into the air, we feel this lifting sensation. So we want to see if we can maintain that lift of the torso so we have a lot of space around the belly, around the belt line, and lots of space along the spine. All righty, let's set this up. I'm going to try to mirror you. So you're going to place your right hand behind you or just kind of out to the side there, maybe up onto your fingertips, as a way to press and lift yourself up. It's just going to help you stay lifted here, okay? Stay facing forward, lifting tall. That's also an inhale. When you exhale, draw your belly in, nice engagement, and then just a light rotation toward your right. Now, you might just stop right here. I haven't twisted very far, and you really don't have to twist very far. We're still warming up. We're just stepping into this. So just a slight turn. And now that we've turned, take this free hand, maybe just place it on your knee or outer thigh as a way of holding yourself in place. So remember that back hand is helping you to stay well lifted in your torso so you can hopefully feel that space you've created right around the belt line, right below your belly button. We're inhaling to feel the lengthening of the spine, again with the assistance of that back hand. Exhaling to draw belly in to hold you in place. And this left hand is also helping you to hold in place. Stay here for a couple more breaths. Now, it may not feel like much, and you really don't need to force your body any deeper or further into the pose to actually feel anything. What we're doing here is being in a pose that we can hold for a good amount of time that doesn't feel stressful, but there's still benefit happening. Allowing muscles to kind of lightly stretch and release, and muscles engaging to help hold us in place. All right, let's get ready to come out of the pose. Follow me. We're going to inhale, get even taller in the seat. We're still in the rotation. Exhale, pull belly in to support your body in motion as we now return to center. Facing forward, we can just bring the hands and arms around to the front and come back to that simple, disengaged sensation. All right, let's do the other side. So left hand behind you or out by your side, push into your mat to help you sit up even taller. Inhale as you do so. Exhale, draw belly in, light rotation to your left, and I usually say just twist or turn until you just naturally stop. and that's it. You've made your turn. You're probably facing in the same direction as this knee. To hold yourself in place, we're making sure we're breathing. The exhale, engaging the abdominal muscles, help us to hold here. And that's the main purpose of why we haven't used this hand just yet. We're trying to use muscle work here to twist, turn, hold. Then, to help hold us in place, place the hand on the outside of the thigh or knee right here. Keep breathing. Each inhale, just feel as if you can rise a little taller, creating a little bit more space between each vertebra. Right up and down the spine. Exhaling, just a light pull inward through the belly. You might feel that in your belly, but because we are in a twist, you might feel this through the sides of your body too. Remember, you just want to be in a posture like this, especially in soft flow, that you can hold for a period of time and not feeling stressed. We can hold easily, we can breathe. It feels good. How about 2 more breaths? Now on the 3rd breath, we'll inhale, sit up a little taller. Exhale, draw belly in to support the body as we now unwind to face forward. And here we are. Feel everything kind of come back to neutral. Hold for a moment here. Very good. All right, I'm just going to turn sideways for this next posture. Now, if your legs were crossed and you need to uncross them just to give yourself a little stretch, that's perfectly fine. And when you're ready, join me here. You're going to bring your hands, both hands behind you, again propped up onto your fingertips like this. And with the arms behind you, you're going to roll the shoulders back and hold them back as best as you can. And what's actually helping them to hold back is your upper back muscles, because they're engaging. You're activating those back muscles along the shoulder blades to squeeze towards the center line. Your center line is your spine. Now, we're going to tip the chin up just a little bit so you're not straining your neck. We're just trying to open up the heart a little bit. Now, inhale, press into the floor with the hands. Inhale, feel the breath rise. Fill up your lungs, very expansive. Because the arms are behind us, you might feel something just kind of run across your chest from shoulder to shoulder. Just some energies, a little stretch. Exhale, draw belly in and continue to squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you. So you're going to feel a little bit more activation. And because the body is a little bit more active in this pose, we're not going to hold it very long, not as long as we held those twists. When we work in soft flow, we like to work at somewhere between 60 or maybe 50% to 70%. So not 100% when we get into our poses. So if you feel like you're really pushing or forcing and you're going to 100 or beyond that, see if you can dial it back. All right, let's go ahead and lower our chins, facing forward to neutralize the neck, and then walk your hands forward so you're sitting up nice and tall. You can bring your arms in front here, just rest your hands on your lap. All right, so that was our seated back bend. Let's do a forward fold, but we are going to change our leg posture. So if your legs are crossed here, let's uncross the legs and just place the soles of the feet together like this. Now you can draw them in if that feels okay. Just check in with your knees and also check in with your hips. Also, if the heels are drawn in, but it compromises your spine and you're rounded like this, then you may want to change things up. One easy thing that you can do is actually slide the feet forward. That'll take some of the strain away from the knees. And if you just hold onto your shins, you might be able to lift yourself up like this to have a nice extended spine. Don't worry that there's space between your leg and the ground. That's where your books or your blocks can come in handy. So go ahead and tuck those books underneath the legs there so they can rest right there. And then we're ready for our pose. We're going to take a forward fold. So inhale, get nice and tall. Exhale, draw belly in and hinge forward, leading with your chest and chin just a little bit right there. Just as I said before, in soft flow, we're not moving too far, too fast, or too deep. We're working from 50 to 70%. For me, this is about a 55%. So I haven't gone very far, but I do notice, I feel, but it's not stressful. I'm going to go a little deeper. Now, what should we feel? You might feel this in your back a little bit because we are keeping it extended at the initial part. You might also feel this in the inner legs. If you want to go a little deeper, here's something that you can do so you don't compromise the pose and doesn't feel too stressful. Just lower your chin a little bit, let your back round, and you probably can dip forward a little bit more. Maintaining sensation in the inner legs, but now with the curve in the spine, you might feel a little stretch and pull through the spine. We'll just hold here. And just for an added touch, take some deep breaths, but instead of trying to breathe into your chest, your front body, see if you can breathe into your back body. Make it expand, just as we allowed the chest to expand with breath. So these are some of our initial seated postures for this practice, and these are ones that we typically do in this class. We'll be adding on a few others. Now to come out of the pose, if your back is rounded, just lift your chin a little bit. If you have a nicely extended spine, you're going to hinge your way back up. You can just use your hands on the floor and just press and lift yourself back up into your tall in your seat. You can just hold on to your shins. Face forward. Take a couple of breaths. All right, let's go ahead and remove our props. Let's set those to the side. Just carefully come to your hands and knees. I'm just going to swing the legs back around and behind me. Using my blanket, I'm just going to unfold it so I have a nice rectangle so I can have my knees and hands on the blanket here. So just forming a tabletop. Let's get into our back and our hips. This is cat and cow, two poses that flow together. So inhale, tip your chin up, open your heart, look forward, and you're going to feel the arch of your back, little back bend, feel the pelvis tip back. Then exhale, scoop it all underneath you. Tucking the tailbone under, pull your belly button up towards your spine, chin to chest, and you feel the rounded back. That's cat pose. We inhale, tip the pelvis back, let the belly drop, arched back, heart forward, look forward. This is cow pose. And just continue this nice fluid motion. Cat pose, cow pose. A wonderful undulation of the spine. Getting some movement through the hips. And of course, we're breathing. The inhale to look forward, creating the back bend. Exhale, look down, rounding the spine, pull belly button up towards spine. Go ahead and finish the breath that you're on and take 2 more breaths. And when you're complete, just come to a neutral tabletop position like so, keeping the neck long and your gaze directly down between your hands. Now let's set up for our next pose. Just carefully crawl off of your blanket or towel that you're using and set it to the side. Come back out onto your hands and knees and we'll set up for downward facing dog. Step your hands forward here. You might even spread out your fingers pretty wide. This will establish a nice stretch between each finger. Palms are flat on your mat. You might even lean into the ground, pressing the palms flat into the mat to open your palms. Also be aware, but you're also straightening and strengthening your arms. We do want that for this next pose. Tuck your toes under, and let's do one more cat and cow flow. Inhale, tip chin up, look up, arched back, cow. Exhale, round it out into cat pose. Hold cat pose. Make sure your toes are tucked. Lift your knees off the ground, then send your hips up into the air. You'll naturally push hands into the floor, and you'll end up in this inverted posture, downward facing dog. You can keep a really good bend in the knees,
that allows your hips to stay mobile and keep lifting your hips into the sky. Meanwhile, hands are pressing firmly into the floor. Press more firmly toward your thumbs and index fingers, and even feel like you're trying to squeeze an object between your arms. This is downward facing dog. Now let's take a few steps forward with the feet to about the center of the mat until your feet are flat on the ground, like so. And then slide your fingers toward your toes. You'll be in forward fold. We're going to inhale, slide your hands up to the shins or knees, and pause here, only rising up halfway. So we're flat like a table. This is half forward fold. So hands are just resting lightly here. Slight bend in the knees, which is going to automatically activate your legs, especially through the hamstrings. We'll be doing some more floor work in a moment, and we'll be working our hamstrings a little bit more. But for here, we want to feel an energy in the upper body. We're still extending the spine. Feel or imagine that you can feel your tailbone moving to the wall behind you and the crown of your head moving forward. Now shift your weight back into your heels. Bend your knees, lower your hips like you're sitting down, but lifting your chest at the same time. We're trying to keep the back flat. This should free up your hands so you can bring your arms out to the side. Stand up nice and tall, like so. Then reach up into the air, like you're touching the ceiling. Big stretch, then exhale, bring your arms down by your side. So we've made it together in our first standing posture, mountain pose. Feel free to roll your shoulders a few times, just to check in to see how they're feeling. Any tension, so roll them back a few times, roll them forward a few times. I like to work down the arms here. So first the shoulders, then the elbows. I just make some big circles here. And then with the wrists, same thing, circles, and then wiggle the fingers. If you'd like, you can work down the body. Little hips kind of shifting side to side. We're gonna do some side bends here in a second. Okay, you can even circle your hips and work down the legs. You want to bend your knees right down to your feet, ankles, and your toes. All right, still in mountain pose, being sure your feet feel solid on the ground. You're balanced on 2 feet, but a little softness in the knees. Be aware if you're locking your knees, a little softness in the knees so you can have this light bounce. Now, inhale, extend your arms up into the air. And interlace your fingers here at the top, like this. You want your index fingers to be pointing up, like that. Reach. Now, it's okay if the arms are not straight. If they're bent, no worries. But we are inhaling, reaching up. And with the exhale, just tip a little bit to your right. Just a little bit here, not much. Now, because we're reaching to the right, the left side is going to get a natural stretch. Alrighty, but the work is going to be on this side we're bending towards because we want to keep that lifted. So wherever we're pointing, we're going to inhale and reach up a little higher. Exhale, maybe bend a little bit more. Remember, work between 50 and 70%. I'm at a good 65% at this posture. I can feel this. I feel that lengthening through the side of the body. I feel like my ribs are lifting on this side. Let's come out of the pose. Inhale, come back up nice and tall. Exhale, arms return down to your side. Feel free to shake all that out. So there's a lot of energy involved in that pose with the intention of bringing length to the sides of the body. We'll be doing a similar thing when we get down to our seated floor work. Here we go. Inhale, reach into the sky. Exhale, interlace your fingers with the index fingers pointing towards the ceiling. Straight-ish arms here. Inhale, reach up high. Exhale, now tip to your left a little bit. Stay there. Now this might be the end of the pose. Maybe this is a good 55%. Stay here. Or inhale, keep reaching and pointing up. If you're able, exhale, maybe tip a tiny bit more. I'm at a good 60% right here. I feel the stretch down through the right side of the body. Make sure you're lifting on the left side. Okay, you don't want to collapse over there. That's the work. 2 more breaths. Even though we're not moving, you are still breathing. Here we go. Let's come back up. Inhale and exhale. Let's bring the arms back down to the sides and then shake all that loose. Ah, wonderful. Okay. Let's go through a sun salutation.
It's first, it's just a half salute to the sun where we fold forward and come back up, and then we add on to that, so our sun salutation. So I'm just going to stand here at the top of the mat, so stand at your top of the mat, nice and tall. Soft knees. Here we go. Inhale, extend both arms up. Now when you exhale, take your arms out to the side like you're spreading your wings. Bend your knees and sit back into an imaginary chair like this. We're trying to keep the back flat. Arms naturally come down. Your belly will come down towards your thighs. Your back will naturally round. Maybe touch your toes, but you don't have to touch your toes. Knees can stay bent. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees. Halfway lift. We're going to exhale and fold. And again, just come to a place where it just feels okay. You don't have to go all the way down. Maybe your hands stop at your ankles. You don't have to touch your toes here. We're going to stand, but let's shift the weight first into the heels so your toes feel light so you can easily tap them. Bend your knees, lower your hips, lift the chest, and that should free up your hands. You want to get into a nice kind of balanced place right here. Arms out to the side, spread your wings. Drive your heels into the floor, putting energy in the legs so you can stand up tall, reaching high into the sky. Exhale, arms down to your side. So that's our half salute to the sun. Let's continue. We're going to do our full sun salutation. I'll break it down. Do your best. Inhale, extend both arms up. Exhale, spread your wings, bend your knees, and sit back and down into an imaginary chair. Lowering your way down, carefully and slowly, never needing to touch your toes. Inhale, slide your hands up to your shins or knees, rising up halfway to create that flat tabletop position. Exhale, fold, slide your hands down the legs, bend your knees a lot so your hands can come down to the floor, down to the mat. And as best as you can, just start stepping or sliding the feet back. Keep stepping until your feet are near the back end of your mat. And you can form this pose, plank pose, just a high push-up position. Very strong, very engaging. Breathe in, then exhale. Bend your knees a little, send your hips up into the air like so. It's our return to downward facing dog like we did earlier. But if it feels like your hands are going to slip forward or your feet slip backward, you might tiptoe forward a little bit. Keep the knees bent. Send your hips a little higher so you feel a bit more solid and connected to the pose. All right, we're going to continue. From here, inhale, pick up your right foot and extend your leg into the air behind you. It doesn't have to lift high. Exhale, bend this right knee. Bring your right knee in underneath you towards your chest or chin. At the same time, shift your whole upper body forward into your shoulders or over your wrists. And then just set the right foot down, just your toes, so the heel is lifted up off the ground. And then set the left knee onto the floor. Kind of pull your hips back so you can easily free up the weight from your right hand. We're going to use that hand to go get your right foot. Pick it up from the ankle. Step it forward so it's near the top of the mat or near your right hand. Just behind the wrist should be fine. Let's relift the left knee. Rotate that leg so you can plant that left heel into the floor behind you. If the body weight is forward, I like to rise up onto the fingertips to lift the body, step the hands back as a way to pull the hips back and put more weight in this back foot. Still on fingertips, extend the spine out over this thigh. Bring one hand, then two hands up to your thigh. Lift a little bit to continue this nice lengthening effort through the torso. Should be strong and balanced on both feet. If you can, free out your arms. Out to the side, hinge your way up, reach up into the air. Lunge, you're in Warrior One. Hold for a moment. Notice where you have sensation, perhaps down to the side of the body. The hip flexor here, kind of the front portion of the thigh, right below the belt line. We have a lunge going on here. Let's continue from here. Another lunge. Inhale, reach high. Exhale, turn your torso towards the left side of the room, coming down this way so your arms are parallel to the floor. I like to just rotate this whole leg out a little bit. See how my foot turned out? So the leg feels a bit more natural here. Check in with the front leg. It's still bent, making sure the knee stays nicely aligned over the heel or ankle, and the knee is pointing directly forward. Arms parallel to the floor. That's our warrior two. Let's take it a little deeper, kind of a side bend, okay? Reaching out like so. Side angle poses what we're moving towards. We're going to rotate the arms, so your right arm will come down, perhaps brace it against the inner leg. I'm putting a little bit of pressure into the inner leg here while the left hand's reaching straight up into the sky. So a nice opening through the whole upper body. Let's keep sending this arm overhead like so. Just like we did that standing side bend, this is very similar here. Really reach. As you're reaching through this hand in the sky, that left foot is pressing more firmly into the floor. This right arm or hand can just rest very lightly on the thigh, so no weight there. Okay, we're going to come back up to a warrior two. So you can reposition the torso so it feels tall and feel like it's lifting up out of the pelvic bowl. Let's drop the arms, turn to face forward, and then flip the arms back up. Flick the palms up like so, and then fold. So you can catch yourself on your palms here. Once you've got the hands on the ground, rise up onto your tiptoes behind you so your heel is lifted. More pressure into the floor with the hands because we need to slide this right foot back to meet the other. You'll have returned to plank pose. Bend your knees here with an exhale. Lift your hips into the sky, downward facing dog. See, in this position, I can feel my hands want to slip. So I want to step forward with the feet a little bit, get some of that energy lifting up into the air. That way my hands won't slip. Let's do the other leg. First, inhale, pick up the left foot, extend the left leg back behind you, straight as can be. As you exhale, bend the left knee, bring it in underneath you towards your chest, shifting forward. Even look at your shoulders and see if they're aligned over your wrists. We're setting this left foot down. Don't worry about where it is because we're going to move it. Place the right knee down. Pull the hips back so you can free up this left hand. Let's go get the ankle, pick up the foot, and place it up a little higher on the mat. It might just end up just shy of the wrist here. Let's re-lift the right knee, rotate that back leg, plant the heel into the floor. Rising up to fingertips, stepping the hands back. I'm pulling the weight of my body back so there's less weight in this front foot, less weight in this front knee, more weight in that back foot. Rise to fingertips to extend spine. Bring hands to thigh. Lift, not all the way up yet, but extending the spine. Feet feel well grounded. I can free up my hands out to the side, hinge from hips, rising up, reach into the air, and lunge. Here's our warrior one. Knee is pointing forward. We're facing forward, arms up. Notice the side body stretch and the right hip flexor now getting a nice release. Inhale. Exhale, turn your torso now towards your right side. Arms come down to parallel. I'm going to outwardly rotate that back leg so that right leg feels more natural. Checking in with the left leg, knee is bent, lunging, pointing forward. Arms are parallel. Side angle pose. We're angling the upper half of the body. Reach forward, rotate the arms. You might start by bracing the left arm on the inner left leg, right arm reaching up. But as we start to reach over a little bit more, you might even bend this left arm, rest it lightly on the thigh, or even use your hand. But keep reaching through the right arm overhead. As we're reaching and extending, we feel this nice stretch quality in the side of the body while the right foot presses firmly into the floor. Nice side bend. We're coming back up to a warrior two. Nice and tall in the torso, feel lifted. Let's relax the arms. Turn to face forward. Lift the arms up to parallel. Flick the palms up. Fold. Hands down to the mat. Press firmly into the mat. Rise up onto your tiptoes behind you. This just realigns the hips. More firm of a press into the ground with your hands so you can slide or pull this left foot back. It's a nice hip work actually.
To pull that foot back, plank pose. Good strength work here. Bend the knees and kneel down. We're going to sit back briefly in hero. Sit off to the side. Swing the legs around to the front. Scoot forward if you need to sit in the center of your mat. Let's get into a back bend. We're going to use our blocks here because it's going to be a supported back bend. It's bridge pose, so I just call it supported bridge pose. So have those nearby, right next to you. You can easily grab them. Go ahead and lie down. Lie down onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest. You can just hold on to your shins or knees. Feel free to add some movement here. That might feel good. And as you're kind of gently massaging the body, make sure you're breathing in and out. Even check in with your feet. Wiggle your toes if you can. Ready for our supported bridge pose. Let's start by placing the feet on the floor. Perfectly fine to take the feet a little wider than your hips, right out to the edges of the mat if you'd like. Grab hold of your blocks. Now inhale, fill up your lungs. Exhale, draw belly in or down. And then lift your hips high enough so you can slide your props underneath you. And then just sit. Just sit on your props. Make sure they're in a good spot so they don't slip out from underneath you. You can just rest your arms down on the floor. Now what I like to do is try to get my shoulders a bit underneath my body. Okay, I'm just lifting this left shoulder, getting it underneath, doing the other side. So I feel like I'm more on the back side of the shoulders and just opens the chest a little bit more. Since this is a back bend, we do want that experience of opening up a bit more in the chest area. What's nice about this pose, because we're sitting on these props, is that we don't have to fully engage the entire body to be in the pose in order to hold it for a long time. With the seat, we can just relax a bit more, and we have this nice gentle opening through the whole front side of the body. Let's hold here for a few more breaths. Wonderful. Check in to see what percentage you're at. For me, this is pretty gentle and mild, but feels wonderful. So I'm about a good 55% here. I know I could probably hold this for a long period of time. Let's just take 2 more breaths. So when we practice yoga, it's not always about getting as deep as you can in a pose, because that might just create more stress in the body. And when we practice yoga, one of the intentions or one of the things that we want to achieve is less stress. All right, after that breath, press your feet into the floor to activate the legs so you can lift your hips. Slide the blocks out from underneath you and slowly and carefully make your way back down to the ground. Once we've made it down, go ahead and extend your legs out front and reach your arms behind you, just creating a little bit more length in the spine. Bend both knees and bring them in towards your chest. Just catch them in your hands. We're going to rise up to seated. You might just roll to one side like this and use your hands and just press yourself up to seated. Now we're ready for our seated floor work. Now most of the work we're going to be doing is going to be like this, seated with the legs extended out to this at an angle like this. Don't worry if they don't go very wide. If they're here, perfect. They don't have to go very wide at all to do this next portion. I'm going to do a little reset here of my mat, and I'm going to get my blanket underneath me. So if you want something soft to sit on, maybe bring in that folded towel or blanket, okay? So you have that here. You also want to have your strap nearby and ready to go. So we are seated with wide legs.
I'm going to go a little wider because this feels good for me. Again, if it feels better to bring yours in a little bit more narrow, that's perfect. Now we want to sit up tall. Remember at the beginning of practice, I was talking about having a lengthened spine, staying tall. We want that, especially in seated positions. And to help you sit up tall, just bring your hands behind you and just push into the floor, lift. One thing that I really like about this, because I have a kind of a tight low back, okay? And so just pressing into the floor gives me a lift, and it lightens my low back in a way where it's like, oh, there's no tension at all. I just love that feeling. Now we're going to hinge forward. So I'm still pressing into the floor with the hands. Inhale, getting tall, well lifted through the spine. Exhale, pull belly in, lead with the heart and chin. I'm going towards you, leaning forward. Basically just walking my hands towards my legs, okay, just to help support my body. I'm still pressing into the ground to maintain a length in the spine, okay? Flexed feet or a light flex in the feet, okay? A light flex in the feet, or just feel that your toes are pointing upward. So this is one of our seated floor positions. Now you don't have to go very far for this. If you happen to have greater flexibility, you can do a couple things. You can bring one hand in front, okay, just to help support your body so it doesn't feel like you're just going to fall forward, with one hand behind you to maintain the length in your spine. If you can go deeper without compromising the pose, or it does not feel stressful to you, you can bring both hands in front and maybe hinge forward a bit more, just supporting yourself with your hands. Now it is okay to round your back. You can just lower your chin, let the back round. That too is going to provide a little bit more space in your body so you can fold. Now this of course is affecting our hips and affecting our legs. Remember I mentioned that this floor work is going to be really working our legs in addition to the upper body. Okay, we have more to do. So if your hands are in front, actually if your hands are behind you, maybe bring at least one hand in front to help press and lift yourself up until you're nice and tall. We're going to take a little break from this leg stretch by bending the knees, bring the feet close together like this, returning to bound angle pose or cobbler's pose. We did this earlier. Just taking that stretch out of the legs. Just hold still for a moment. Alrighty. When you're ready, we're going to re-extend the legs. Remember, you can change the distance between the feet here. You don't have to go too wide. Alrighty, we're going to do a side bend. Several side bends to one side, some variations. Let's start with the strap. We're going to use the strap. Again, I'm going to mirror you and take the strap and kind of loop it around my right foot like that. And then just hold on to the strap in my right hand. Okay, I'm just kind of wrapping the strap around my arm here so I've got a good hold. It's not going to go anywhere. So it's kind of taut right there. I can pull. Okay, so nice and tall. Okay, then extend your left arm out to the side, just parallel to the floor. Now we're going to inhale and take this arm up into the sky, and exhale, a little tug of the strap and a little pull so I can kind of lean over to that side. So it's a side bend, just another side bend. It's pretty much the third version of a side bend we've done today. Really flexing this foot and keeping this leg active. Since a lot of weight and energy is going this way, we want to make sure we're not going to fall that direction. So we just want to activate that left leg over there. That's our side bend. Now we're going to inhale and come back up, nice and tall. Exhale, let's just lower this arm. Okay, we're not done yet. Bring this arm around and hold on to the strap with both hands. Okay, like so. Still taut. Inhale, get nice and tall. Exhale, here's a twist. Okay, very much like the twist we did earlier when our legs were crossed. So hold here for a moment. So maybe you're facing your right foot. So we're rotating through the torso. Try to get as tall as you can here. And we take this into a fold. Inhale, lift, exhale, a little tug of the strap and send your heart out towards your toes. I'm already feeling this. I'm at a good 70% right here. I feel this in the extended leg, the one I'm folding towards. You want to activate this free leg that you're not looking at. Make sure you're paying attention to it even though you're not looking at it. Flex the foot to keep that leg active. We're in a twist and we're folding. So it's working our spine, our hips, our belly, and of course this extended leg. Some wonderful poses that can be done seated that work your entire body, like this one. Okay, we're going to come back up with an inhale, getting as tall as can be. Exhale, unwind, facing forward. Let's release the strap. Okay, let's get the stretch out of the legs here. I'm just going to lean back. I'm just going to guide my legs in like that, bending the knees, feet together. And even just a little bounce of the knees here, it actually just gets into the hips a little bit, just to release some tension. All right, our seated floor work. All right, ready for the other side? Let's go ahead and extend the legs. Let's grab our strap. I'm going to lasso that strap around the left foot. Hold on to it in the left hand. If you need to, you can just kind of wrap your hand around that strap. Make sure it's taut right there. Okay? And the right leg is straight, just a flex of the foot so this leg is active. And one thing I didn't say on the other side there is if your legs do not go absolutely straight, no worries. Just bend the knees. And what you may want to do is maybe tuck something underneath the knees. Get a couple of towels and just roll them up and just place them underneath the bent knees so they have a little softness and some support, okay? So the legs do not have to be absolutely straight here. Okay, we're going to do our side bend, so face forward, tall as can be. This gets into the hips and the side body. Extend your right arm out to the side. Inhale, feel tall. You want to feel like there's a string attached to the crown of your head and you're lifting up. Okay, and this arm is going up at the same time, so lift. Then exhale, a little tug of the strap, and a little bend sideways. Now, if you're highly flexible and perhaps in a different class, you might be able to go all the way over, and this hand actually reaches the foot. Yeah, it seems absolutely impossible, doesn't it? I know it seems impossible for me, and it would be a pretty extensive pose to practice. But this is a beginner's class, and we do not have to go that far. Only moving to a place where we can feel this nice side stretch and the legs working. We're going to inhale and come back up nice and tall. Exhale, bring the arms back down by your side like that. Alrighty, now if you need to take the stretch out of the legs, you can always bend the knees, okay, and come back to that cobbler's pose before we get to the rotation. When you're ready, just join me here. We're going to hold on to the strap with two hands. Nice and tall, inhale. Exhale. I'm just turning my torso so I'm mostly facing this left foot. Don't forget to flex the right one. Keep it active, even if the knees need to be bent. So we're first just staying tall, torso lifting up out of the pelvic bowl, so we have room in the entire spine so you can twist and then hold your twist. Here comes our fold. Breathe in, feel nice and tall. A little tug of the strap as you exhale, send your heart and chin forward out towards your toes. Don't forget about this leg over here. If it's going loose and it's not doing anything, make sure you are paying attention. Activate it. As you're folding out towards this leg, you can still bend the knee. Move to a place where you still feel it. It feels good. You could potentially hold this for, I'd say, 30, 40, 50 seconds, even up to a minute, maybe even more. If that's not the case, either finish the pose, come out of the pose, or just lighten the pose. Now, I'm at a good 65% here, probably a little bit more. So we're going to come out of the posture. Inhale, rise up. We're still facing that extended leg. And then facing forward. Finishing. Okay, let's release the strap. We're done with the strap here. Leaning back, guiding that knee bend. And maybe even a forward fold. Lower the chin, let the back round. Stay where you are. I'm just going to turn sideways. So that's our seated floor work. We're just coming back to some poses we've done already. The new poses that we've added in our practice today were those leg extensions, wide leg extension, adding a little side bend, twist, and fold. This feels really good to be able to bend the knees and then fold forward, just taking some of the tension away from the back, just in case any tension did build up in the back. All right, 2 more breaths. And if your back did round in this position, just lift your chin a little bit, re-extending the spine. Hinge your way back up. Use your hands to press into the floor to help lift yourself up. And we hold here for a second. All righty. If you are on a blanket, I'm just going to scoot forward because I'm just going to move the blanket out of the way. Let's bring in those blocks again. Keep them right by your side, sitting in the center of your mat. Carefully roll down onto your back and just bring the knees into chest. This too should feel good in the low back area after that work we just did. Now what I like to do as far as movements, either first I like to just kind of shift slowly side to side and then create a figure 8. Just kind of draw a figure 8 with my knees. And it's a wonderful release through my low back. And of course, breathing. We're going to return to that supported bridge pose where we're going to add something to it. And that's why we need our blocks. Let's set the feet onto the floor. Wider than hips if you need to. You got your blocks. Inhale, fill up your lungs. Exhale, empty your belly. You can breathe out through your mouth to help with that. Press low back into the floor. Then press feet into the floor to lift your hips away from the floor, high enough to get your books or blocks underneath you. Once again, just take a seat. We'll pause here in our back bend, our supported bridge pose. I'm getting my arms and shoulders a bit underneath. Kind of relax a little bit. Tune in again to your breath. Now, in a moment, we're going to turn this into an inverted pose, meaning we're going to go upside down. All we're going to do is extend our legs into the air. And you can do this propped up on your blocks, but you can certainly do this without blocks. You can just extend the legs up into the air. You can just kind of play with it to see which feels best for you. Take 2 more breaths first. Then when you're ready, carefully extending one leg and then both legs into the air like so. Now it's okay to keep the knees bent, or if you can, extend the legs. I've got a flexed foot, or both feet are flexed. I'm pushing the heels up towards the ceiling. You can even point your toes here. What you may want to do is actually circle the feet, get into the ankles since they're free here. Both directions, flexing and pointing, and if you can, wiggle your toes. It's just another nice leg extension, but this is also working core. It's lightly activated in order to keep the legs in the air. And of course, the legs also have to activate to keep them in the air. But we're sitting on these props. And again, you can try this. If this feels awkward or doesn't feel quite right, you can do this on a blanket or just on the floor. Okay, we're going to bend the knees, bring the feet to the floor. If you can, stay up on your blocks for this next thing. I'm actually going to remove one of my blocks and just come down one level. We're going to bring the knees and feet together like so, and then take the knees out to the side. I'm just returning to cobbler's pose, that bound angle pose. Okay, just another version. This is just the lying down version. So the soles of the feet are touching, knees are open. I'm getting a little bit more of a pull in the inner legs here, and that's mainly because we're lifted up on the prop. Okay, if I was up higher, I would get more of a stretch. If it feels like it's too much, if it feels like a strain, then lighten the pose. Okay, you might even just send the legs, feet forward, or come out of the pose, or remove the block underneath you. Only here for a few more breaths.
And we'll bring the knees together, plant the feet into the ground so you can lift your hips and remove any blocks out from underneath you and then come back down to the ground. Let's bring both knees into chest. We're going to finish up with a twist and carefully take both knees over to the left side of the room. Now it's okay if this left leg doesn't touch the ground, and it's probably good because we don't want to over-rotate, because we didn't over-rotate in the other twist. So you might use a block, and I'm just propping it underneath that left leg. You can even place a block or a towel or a pillow between the knees, just for a little softness. That way you have a little bit more support. You're not putting too much tension on the low back as you're creating this twist. And we're not going to be here too long. Just a few breaths more. Just adding a little bit more relief to the low back after we've done that seated floor work. All right, let's come back up, nice and centered here. Pause, and then take the knees over to the other side, still using that block there to help support the legs in this twist. This feels really good because I can notice and feel like I'm not over-rotating. It doesn't feel like I'm straining at all. And easy to take some deep breaths here. With these twists, feel free to stay in them as long as you'd like. They're wonderful, they feel good. Very restorative. Alrighty, one more breath. And when you're ready, coming back to center, one last hug of the knees towards your body, and then you can set your feet down and then extend the legs out in front of you and just rest your arms down by your side. Now we've made our way to our very last pose, Shavasana, Shavasana. And we just lie here very relaxed. So nothing is engaged here. There's no muscle engagement here. All we need to do is relax. You're welcome to keep your eyes open or feel free to close your eyes. Your breath can also soften here. This is your time to relax after having done your work. To continue to breathe in and out. It doesn't have to be too forced or too strong, but do pay attention to your breathing. And once you've made it to Shavasana, this is another pose in which you can stay for as long as you'd like. Even as I complete the practice and come up to seated, feel free just to stay lying down in this pose for as long as you need to. Remain relaxed here. When it is time to move, no need to move too quickly. Really do take your time and just start with breath. You might take 5 slow, deep breaths. And as you're breathing in and out, gently feeling movement return to your body. Take those slow, deep breaths here. And then sometime after that 5th breath, move in slow motion, starting by bending the knees, feet are flat on the floor, using this posture to help roll to one side. And then press your hands into the floor to help lift yourself up to seated. Feel free to sit on a pillow or blanket or a block. You can cross your legs here. You can even re-extend your legs out if you'd like to. Sit up tall, arms and shoulders are relaxed, hands are just resting in your lap. Inhale here to feel the extended spine. Exhale, draw belly in. One last movement together. We'll inhale, extend the arms up into the air. Exhale, bring your palms together and down to your heart. And now, as we complete our practice together, we bow, saying, Namaste.
Thank you everyone for joining me in this class. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for watching and participating in this yoga lesson. To help us with the channel so we can continue to bring you more content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's really appreciated. Namaste.